It's something that I get asked an awful lot in the game of Pétanque from different people. It's one big word. It's one horrible word. It's something that affects well, in fact, it affects everyone. That word is pressure. How do you cope with pressure? What do you do to get over pressure in the game? Now, pressure is interesting because a huge amount of pressure is self-imposed. It comes from the thoughts, the stories, the beliefs, the things that we've got circling around in our mind that put pressure on us. It also comes from other things. It's a very, very different pressure when it's 1-1 after 2 ends in the game to when it's 12-all and every single ball counts. And maybe you've got the last ball and you have to hit. That's a very, very different pressure to first round of the pools or the leagues, and you're just going through and you think, that's okay. Very, very different pressure if you're playing against someone you've beaten every time you've played them, to someone that you've never played before. Maybe it's a little bit of fear. Are they good? Are they not good? You watch them in practice, bang, 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 they're hitting everything. You put this self-imposed pressure on yourself. Again, a totally different pressure if you're playing a champion. If you've come up against Dylan Rocher, Henri Lacroix, Philippe Cante, anyone, and you come up against them and suddenly you think, oh my God, I got to bring my best game. I can't possibly lose. These guys are going to batter me. It's a very different pressure. Other forms of pressure. Oh my God, they're watching me. There's people everywhere. And there's a camera. I'm being filmed. Oh my God, he's going to put it on YouTube and I'm going to look stupid for the rest of my life. And then you start to crumble before you've even stepped in the circle. Other bits of pressure that can come into the game. Maybe it's a situation in the competition. Maybe it's your first semi-final, your first final. You're worried about how you're going to play. You're worried because you've invested a lot of money in travel, in getting to a particular competition. You're there and everyone expects you to do well. Expectation is a horrible pressure because you can come in with a certain reputation. You could have won a whole load of games and then you come up against nobodies who really can't play well, or they're throwing in dong, 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 bang, boule, and they're just knocking them out and they're throwing their points out of the front of their hand, as I experienced literally last week in a tournament. I came up this shall we say, slightly more seasoned gentleman and a young lady who clearly hadn't been playing very long. And he just kept going, doing, 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 bang. And his ball would stay there, Caro. And he'd just shrug his shoulders and laugh and get on with it. And she threw her ball out of the front of her hand. And on that particular terrain, it worked. And suddenly I'm playing with my partner and I'm going, what is going on here? We should not be this far behind. We should not be in this situation. This team, we can beat them any day of the week. How can they be ahead? So we had to learn how to manage expectations, also to manage our own pressures, because we were putting pressure on ourselves to suddenly produce miracle shots against people that we had probably a lack of respect for. They were playing shots that you would say arguably were beginner shots. And my partner who I was playing with, throwing up these super lobs that went up and when's that ever coming down? And bang, it would land right next to the jack and it would be, everyone would go, wow, isn't he brilliant? Then the little old boy would come in, just kick it out and Caro. So it just went on and on and on. So pressure, it comes in many, many, many different forms. And how do you deal with it? How do you work at it? Because it's a very, very different throw when it's 1-1 in a game and you're shooting a ball to when it's 12-all. So there's so many different things that you can do. I'm not going to go into them in this particular video. This is just an overview of pressure, but I'll give you a couple of tips and we'll come back to it in a later video. Most important, the very, very first thing you can do, you have your circle. As soon as you step into that circle, that is your safe zone. You have to see it as your safe zone. You have to have made a decision. You have to have made a critical analysis of the shot you're going to play, and you have to commit to that shot. You cannot go in there chasing 2 rabbits. You will not catch either of them. You cannot go in there focusing on the ball you don't want to hit. You've got to focus on the ball that you do want to hit. So it's making that decision, sole focus on exactly what you're going to do. Then you're in your circle of heaven. You have blocked out everything. You have to be present. The past doesn't matter. Previous shots, they've gone. You can do nothing about them. The next shot, you're not even there. The semi-final, you haven't even got through the quarter-final. Forget what may happen in the semi-final or the final, or the fact that another team has just got through. You can't do anything about the future. You can only work on the now. Great way of being in the present. It's literally looking at your ball, just feeling the weight of the ball, twisting it around in your hand, just being aware of it, being aware of the gravel or grass underneath your feet, being aware of a little bit of breeze as it comes through. Maybe it's the sun shining down. These are things that just take your mind away from being very, very busy, because all of the stuff that's going on in your head is actually ruining your shot, and it's causing you to overanalyze things before you've even executed the shot. If you can remove everything and make it as simple as possible, I've analyzed the situation, I've made my decision, I've picked one rabbit to chase, and I'm going to execute. And then you trust in your ability to execute. You trust in your ability to be able to play that shot. You remember that you've done this 1,000 times in practice, and you just go, it's just another shot. This is not playing for a row of houses. This is not the World Championship. This is not life or death. It's just another shot. And you see this with the very, very best players in the world. They are relaxed. They're just wandering around, that little bit of swagger. They just go, yeah, I'm going to hit this ball. You watch me. I'll show you how great I am. And they step into the circle. And it's almost like a practice shot. They've removed any expectation. They've allowed themselves just to chill, just to be present, just to say, here we go. This is the important thing. The determination to execute with skill. This only comes from putting lots of deposits into the bank of Pétanque, so that when it's time to extract, when it's time to make that withdrawal, you know you've done all the work and you know that you can execute. And that only comes from trust. Trust in your body, trust in your execution, and just letting the body do what the body can do. Because it's just throwing a ball, if this is a shot, a ball onto a ball. That's it. I can pick any beginner anywhere and just say to them, throw this ball onto this ball. And it may take them 1 or 2 tries, but then if I start saying complex things, make sure you cock your wrist, make sure your release is here, make sure your backswing is here, make sure you don't grip like this. Just let them just execute it. This is where the inner game of tennis is so very, very good with Timothy Galway, because it is literally about letting the body do what the body can do well. It's removing self-1, the conscious mind, and allowing self-2 to execute the shot. So if you like this video, you should love this one.